And she posted the thing.
Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I'm your host, Dr. Haig John, and we got Barry Hobbs, Alan Lichter, Scott Little on right now, and some people are be coming in and out. And we're broadcasting live from Breckenridge, or Alma, Colorado, is where my cabin is at 10,000 feet, not far from Dr. Scott Little down there, who is also not far away, about 45 minutes away or something. Is that right, Scott?
No, we're about 2 hours right now.
Oh, was that 2 hours? I thought it was 45.
45
Yeah,
minutes to
long drive
Tim's
ahead of
shop,
you.
and I'm 45 minutes to Tim's shop. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so we're about an hour and a half or so away from each
Oh, is that
other.
right? Okay. Well, we'll meet up maybe at that shop too. I really want to check it out.
Indeed.
Anyway, we are on the major premise in the senior text in Stephenson's textbook, Article 309, excuse me. And I have it back here, page 236. And that's where we are starting off on this section. We read the beginning of that last week. And I just want to start. Does anybody have anything that we want to say or talk about in the major premise or the principle number one that you've gotten in the past? Let's start reading then. All right. And thanks, Alan, for sending this to me. Article 309, the major premise. Principle number one, Article 24. Universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to it all its properties and actions. Now, here's Steve's coming in. The next is his discussion about that, okay? We've talked about the major premise. We've talked about that in the past. Why don't I start reading his section? Sound good, everybody? And like I said, this is discussion. We want to talk about it a little bit, okay? Since it is universal, it is common to every locality. Therefore, it is in the excuse me. It is in anything and everything that is in the same locality. Okay, so what does that really mean to you? I see it as spirit is in all things. It's encompassing everything. The major premise, universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives it all its properties and actions. We're talking about the universal, right? Barry, you just
Yes.
unmuted. What's up?
Yeah, it's also things that we can see and also we cannot see as well. So it's in everything, every nook and corner of this locality.
Every nook and corner, doesn't skip a thing. Those things wouldn't exist without it. It needs it for its all properties and actions to hold it together, right? I'm looking at the corner of the wall, the wood on the windowsill, the stones out front. Everything needs that universal cohesion to bring matter together, right? In the beginning, it created matter. Now, what is the it?
Universal intelligence.
The intelligence, the universal intelligence.
Universal intelligence.
Yeah. It did not then abandon matter, but creates or unfolds thoughts. Let me go back to that again. Now I missed it. In the beginning, it created matter. It did not then abandon matter, but creates or unfolds thoughts for it every moment. Unfolds thoughts for it every moment. I mean, we have to break this down line by line, guys. I mean, seriously, what is he talking about? Thoughts, unfolds thoughts for it, for matter, for its creation, to hold it into the universal intelligence. What do the thoughts really mean there? So this solicitude maintains matter in existence.
What does solicitude mean?
Alan, you on that?
Takes care of.
Okay.
It's paying attention. It's solicitous. It's paying attention. It cares about. It takes care of it. But not but it's aware of, it's paying attention to it, but it's not interfering. It doesn't, universal.
Let's look it up. We've looked it up plenty of times. Solicitude definition. Okay, the state of being solicitous, that is the worst. Care or concern as for the well-being of another, a cause of concern. The state of being solicitous, uneasiness of mind occasioned by fear or evil desire of good or anxiety. So it's paying attention to, just like you said, okay?
But it doesn't,
Pretty much
it doesn't interfere.
It doesn't interfere.
It sets stuff in motion. It cares what's going on, but it doesn't interfere. Gravity sucks. You know, it just does. It'll pull a stone down. It'll pull you down if you fall over. But it doesn't. So it just is working on you. So it's solicitous. It cares that you fell down, but not that much.
Well, now I lost it. Oh, here it is. So it's solicitude. This solicitude maintains matter in existence. The physical properties which matter has are but force, energy in parentheses, continually given to its by intelligence. The forces that keep it together. I think of just the rock, like a rock, not the rock. A rock is being held by these universal bonds, keeping it together, creating it as rock, right? And not as possum or whatever it might be, right? So, or air. So it needs that matter. That universal force keeps it together in physics and creates it and continually, well, it's not continually recreating it though, is it? I almost slipped and said that. I think that would be potentially principle 2.
But it does. But it maintains the matter and force. And for instance, when we split an atom, all the energy and matter is still there, but it's no longer what it was. Right? We've learned how to split it, and the energy. So the whole unity of it is still present. All that was there is there in the organization, but it's been changed and transformed and maintained in its existence and as it's been broken apart.
Well, just like a stone, it wouldn't change in its matter content unless there were outside forces that were destructive to change, like water, right? To change its properties.
Disruptive, less than destructive.
Well, disruptive or destructive, okay. I see it. Either way. Okay. In a like manner, the quality that matter is said to possess is what intelligence is giving it. In a like manner, the quality that matter is said to possess is what intelligence is giving it. Life, as chiropractic sees it, is the quality or character that matter may have occasioned by the presence or attention of intelligence, having continuation or duration involving time. I think you got that from Webster's in parentheses there. What do you feel about these last statements from him? It's like we have to reread these. They're a little bit of tongue twisters, I have to say.
There's a quality.
It's a quality or character that matter may have occasioned by the presence of or attention of intelligence, having continuation or duration involving time.
Haig, I look at this. Dee Dee was making a line in the sand. They were looking at the body as parts. That was left there. And Dee Dee's teaching us and telling us that there's intelligence. And this right here, principle number 1 is really that defining moment that we are different. This is where we are coming from. there is a universal intelligence in all matter. And in this case, in the human, us chiropractors look at this, that it's our expression. Health is our expression of innate through our matter. And when that matter is not at its optimal level, it cannot be as expressed as quantitatively or as higher quality that it could if that matter was in better shape or form.
So the matter is the expression of energy.
It's also establishing a first concept of time being involved in something that has life. That
Yeah.
that there's that there can be issues of time as far as, and we later on talk about that healing may take time. It's not necessarily instantaneous. That there's time and duration involved in life, and the time frame may affect life.
Okay, here's the next part. No lesser agency than universal intelligence can prevent any of these things, but the perfect expression of intelligence, according to what man wants, may be prevented by the limitations of matter. So universal is, omnipotent, create all things. Man's limited by the limitations of matter itself. According to what man wants, may be prevented by the intelligence of the limitations of matter. Even this is a universal law and is a phase of universal cycle. I miss doing we did the normal complete cycle. That was a long time ago, but we had fun doing that one. I remember that one.
So he's gone through here. If you think about it, he's gone through, halfway through this paragraph, he's talking about force and intelligence, and now he's got matter. So you've got force, intelligence, and matter, which is the triune, has just been expressed in the major premise.
Yeah.
As Haig, you can see in my notes in the margin.
Oh, is that? I'm trying to just read through all your highlighting. Actually, is where
I know. I'm sorry.
Slowly. Alan had send me the PDF, and I'm like, or he took a picture of his thing, and I'm like, all right.
That's all I got, man.
Hey, I didn't have anything, so thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't read your notes to the side.
No,
Yeah,
just
absolutely. Force, intelligence, and the triune. Exactly. If you have Strauss there, let's look it up.
Well, Strauss says that that he refers to where he talks earlier. He says by taking the position that universal intelligence is a principal organization but is not God, everyone can be satisfied. Those who see universal intelligence as the same as God can be happy. Those who see God as more having personality, hence not being referred to as it, are satisfied that universal intelligence is an attribute of God. So that's an interesting concept too, that he says Stevens is leaving it broad enough that everybody can be happy, whether you want to call universal God or not.
I like Didi's, with the way Didi said it. He said, it could be, the Muslim definition, the Christian, the whomever and whatever you think of. It is the highest thing you could possibly think of, really. That's what Didi said. So, in reality, he does. And some people do get upset just being universal intelligence, But yeah, thanks for that. All right.
So I guess what he says here is describing life in its three components. Stephenson and the chiropractic philosophy do make these components separate and distinct. While these are areas that overlap in our understanding of intelligence, force, and matter, there are clearly areas of difference. So that's Strauss.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, life is combination of intelligence, force, and matter. Matter makes up the material universe. Intelligence is the immaterial universe. And force is what binds them together. We perceive force as forms of energy, molecular bonds, chemical bonds, atomic bonds, right? You know, that's the way I see everything in reality. It's some level of bond, like atomic or molecular bond, creating it by force.
I struggle with the term force so often, and it made more sense to me, and certainly Stephenson is in some cases, putting in parentheses energy. And in Reggie's Triune Life, he says chiropractors have always kind of used force and energy synonymously. So much makes more sense to me when I stop and switch to the word energy. But I'm not going to lie, the concept of force in the triune or elsewhere makes little to no sense to me.
And why is that? What is it about force? Just give us a little clarity then.
I think, okay,
I
so
like where you're going.
what's the difference between a good chiropractor and a poor chiropractor? The good chiropractor has more abstract principles, and I guess I lack that abstract principle, which is a definition and a clear understanding of the word force. And again, energy, when I switch that out, it makes a little bit more sense to me. But I guess I just don't have a clearly defined definition or concept for what force is
I
in
get that.
in
Yeah.
chiropractic terms,
Yeah.
in chiropractic non-adjustive terms, because we're not talking about the force applied to the spine. We may be applying that later, but right now we're just defining some terms and some concepts, some abstract principles that we darn well better get if we're going to be a good chiropractor instead of a bad chiropractor, as per the missing link.
Do you feel that energy is the missing link?
Well, the missing link is force, and we can substitute energy for force, but this takes us back to the missing link, that chiropractic deals with the mind body connection. And what is the mind body connection per Stephenson? Force. So that's just a concept that I just have not assimilated yet.
But
think
doesn't this conversation bring you right to the precipice of, we have this non-material intelligence and we have matter, and then there's the gripping of it. There is the actual movement or the connection. How does that which is non-material interact with the matter? That is in itself, whatever name you call it, energy or call it force, to me, I think about the non-material more like vapor, and then vapor can condense more into water, and then water can become like solid ice. So I see that there is a continuum between intelligence and matter, and not so cut up and defined with definitions.
Well, I'll give you what you just talked about is not the force of the bond, right? That holds the molecules together. We just changed how those molecules moved or atoms moved from slower to faster. There's still that there's a molecular bond that holds them together to create them. But I like when also what Scott was talking about too was, when we're really talking about, we don't do the adjusting. Innate does. We offer the influence to that bone. innate knows what to do with it in the right way, the right time, not a moment before or not a moment after, right? Of what the body needs. Because I have no idea what you need, right? But your innate does. I can influence that bone in the best way that I possibly can. For me, I like to offer the least amount of force or input with the greatest amount of outcome, right? That's even what I talk about with my people in the office. But I like the way I mean, force is, you think about it almost like, to me, is almost like manipulation. Who wants to be manipulated and who wants to be forced, right? I see that concept in a way of, in communication. But Alan, you had something to say.
Yeah, I think part of the issue is that we have a connotation of force, which is what you were just talking about, Haig, where we put a force into the body when we thrust and do an adjustment. But there's also an energy involved that's not a dynamic force, is what we think of when we think of force as a dynamic force of pushing, for instance, against something. But I think that energy is a broader sense of that, and it can manifest as, when it manifests through matter, it can cause motion, as Stephen was talking about, as when an atom bomb explodes, there's a change that creates a fireball out of a ball of
Energy
matter.
release. That's energy release.
Right. But so that the concept of force energy, there's an intertwining, but we're stuck with the connotation of force as a physical thrusting type of force, and that's the confusing part of it.
Have you guys ever delivered an adjustment and literally taken a step or two back? Like the energy just pushing you back, like there's an explosion, like, whoa, that was just a big release of energy, a big bang, bong, floating through that system. We've actually affected the universe, right? That adjustment, I mean, there's been times that adjustments have taken my breath away, right? When you are connected in that sense and deliver that adjustment and free that boom to the universe, that is a big bang. That whole system, there is nothing we cannot go back to that previous moment, right? Everything changes universally, okay? So it is greater than force. And I'm like getting on Scott's thing because I'm stoked about it, because it's greater than force. God cannot be measured in force, if we want to look at it in that sense. That adjustment, if we're going spirit to spirit, innate to innate, there's so much more that's unmeasurable in reality, I feel. Or else I have no idea how one would measure it. I'm not an engineer in that sense, but an engineer of the spine. But I like that concept. I appreciate the input because it got us all thinking here a little bit.
What about when you walk in a room and get a sense of the room? You feel something when you walk in a room. There's an energy there that could be conceived as a force, but it's an energy that when you feel a room. How many times have you been talking to someone as a patient or as a practice member or just as a friend, and you sense a change in them as you're speaking with them? There's an energy change that happens. I've adjusted people just by talking to them before my hands on them. And I know there was a chiropractic adjustment happened at that moment, even though I hadn't been doing anything in the concept of a chiropractic adjustment as we know it. The connotation of the adjustment is you're putting your hands on somebody to do it. But sometimes it doesn't take that.
All right.
That's a broadening of a concept. I'm sorry.
It's fantastic. That's what we're supposed to be doing. All right. I am squinting.
Matter, right?
Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. Matter, I'm trying to read off this PDF here. Matter is that which fills space, and its function is to express force. It does not fill all space, but there is no limit to the place you may find it. You may travel to space, if you could, for an unlimited time, and no matter how far you got, you'll find material. The amount of it is infinite. Infinite means having no limit. and no boundaries. I'll stop there just a second. Okay. What's he trying to convey to us? Matter is everywhere. They don't really have a concept of space in the 1920s when he wrote this. Okay. We have a vacuum out there.
If you could travel there, right?
Well, he's also talking about dark matter in reality, right? There's got to be something out there, and dark matter is what they're calling it. So I guess in principle, he really is correct. If we, in the quantum world, for sure. But even I talk about this, about how the molecules we walk through of air, it's just like going through a pool of water, right? We're walking through material at all times. All this air around us, we just forget about, can be compressed, right? I'm a scuba diver. You can compress that air into a bottle and then use it. So there's material around us all the time on planet Earth. Outside is theoretical, right? When we're talking about black dark matter. I don't know. All right.
You can feel it when the wind blows. The wind
You can
picks
feel it
up,
when
all
the
of a
wind
sudden you
blows.
feel that what's around you.
Yeah.
And you think there's nothing there.
Yeah, exactly. It's the wind. Universal means everywhere, common to every locality. Therefore, being infinite and everywhere, we use the term universe. If you subtract from the material universe any amount you wish to name, no matter how large, it would not diminish the total amount. That is what infinite means. That's a pretty good job at explaining that, really. I mean, it's a definition, right? The immaterial universe is the intelligence that made all this. It, too, is everywhere, and therefore it is in all matter. It created everything, so it must have known how infinitely and is all wise. Okay. So that's where he's talking about the creator as well, right? Creating, the grand architect, creating the universe, and must know how to do it and continually to do it. It is omnipotent and unlimited. It fills all time, space, and distance. The definitions of chiropractic give it plenty of latitude in the realm of things universal. Therefore, we're able to go back to the most fundamental principle of all, to get our backs against the wall, so to speak, and know that we are starting at the beginning. To question this fundamental is to be like the child who turns to a picture over to see it from the back, or asks who made God.
I love that.
So yeah, he's talking about being inquisitive. We're starting at the beginning, just trying to understand the very nature of the universe that we live in. And go back. I mean, you realize this is before Schrodinger and quantum physics, okay? He is talking about in quantum ways, and we talked about with DD2, they're talking in quantum physics before it's ever made and making up their own language because it doesn't exist at this point, right? And he's going back and breaking it down into the commonality of our simple little brains. And at this time, no one had, I'm sure there's people thought in this ways. He's not the first, but creating concepts and understanding for the chiropractor that's come in, back then, right after World War I, and bringing all these people coming into the Palmer School at the time, and he's educating everybody and getting everybody up to speed, right? We're going back to the universal. We're going to go back to the nexus of life itself, the basic major principle, the major premise, of principle number one. Universal intelligence is in all matter and continually gives to it all its properties and actions. He's educating the student, right? What do you guys feel?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So, I'm reading a bunch of quantum physics and vibrational stuff and things and trying to figure out what was known when and what this guy's talking about this, and that's really the same thing as this. And if you go back, really, universal intelligence is the same as the ether, is the same as what they call the field today, the 0 point field. All of these things were synonyms, or at least had a lot of overlap. In 1905, the concept of the ether, which stepped on a lot of religious folks' toes, just like the arguments that we have about, is universal intelligence God, or is it a part of God? Or, we just had the discussion about Stephenson made it kind of user-friendly for everyone. But the concept of the ether, which is basically the same thing as what we are saying universal intelligence was, in 1905, Einstein blew up that idea, said it was crap. Then in 1920, and this book that we're reading is published in 1927, he came back and said, no, actually, the concept of the ether gives credence to everything that I have been saying. So they were really smart back then. And I think the more we study things outside of chiropractic, like the ether, like the field, like this stuff, the more we say, wow, this whole concept of our major premise is not only a chiropractic concept, but a lot of people are talking about it, and that just makes it even more true. There's universal intelligence in all matter. There's nothing that doesn't have universal intelligence in it. And the people that were describing the ether, or the people that describe the field and so forth, that's exactly what they're saying. And I don't think that says, well, that takes away from chiropractic. I think that just gives us the confidence in our major premise, that it's not only true, that everyone, it's universal. No one could even deny it.
And that's where he's saying, though, if you think you know, you're really like the little child going to see what the back of the photograph is like, right? We don't have any of the ideas. And all the people you just mentioned, I've read their concepts. And what they really are is the logical world, right? And when it's the logic, it's coming purely from logic. When we talk about the spirit, the purely spiritual, and having a combination of the two to understand them in the concepts is really where we go through in 33 principles in a way, right? And I love them both. And it really they all are in conjunction with each other. And, when we get out of and Didi, I would say he said, we're going bigger than that. It's beyond what we can even imagine. And I think that's even what Stephenson is saying here, that if you think you understand, we're just the tiniest little speck of understanding in no matter who we are, the Einstein or not.
But my educated mind wants to have it concretized.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's impossible.
I think Scott's is right on time, that what happens is that science continually validates things that we have in our principles here. And
Absolutely.
The more they explore, the more they see the organization of the universe, and everything that's unexplainable slowly but surely becomes, oh, look, it's really organized. I mean, think about the fact that as we drive around now, before the trees all get their leaves, you see all the branches on the trees. And if you look at them and you look at a map of the venous system in a human body, or the alveoli in the lungs, it all looks exactly the same. They all mirror each other. And how does that work if there's not some organization in the universe that allows that to happen? It's a remarkable thing. The brachiation of rivers looks the same as that same structure. There's other things that, so that the more the science finds and explains, the more it just goes, well, you see, there's an organization behind all this that is bigger than we understand.
Yeah, but we don't know all of the hows.
Don't have to know. That's not what we're trying to do here.
I know.
We don't need to know how.
We
just have to acknowledge it and accept it.
But that's what science, and that's what the intellect wants to do. And you know, we get closer, we go deeper, but there's always like, then how does that work?
We want to, our little
Dee Dee
minds want
talked
to get
about
it.
you have to just go on.
I know you want to correct me, Alan, but the
No,
point
no.
is that the ego wants to understand everything in terms of mechanisms. And there's something mysterious going on when you follow the physiology in the body or the botany, and you get to a certain point and you just go, wow, because it can't be explained mechanistically.
Right.
And what we're talking about is the unity of spirit and matter. I
Right.
mean, and it's not something that can be drawn on a blackboard. Oh, this is it.
Well, you know, when they tried to find the particle, you know, in the what is it, the CERN, the collider, you know, is how does the universe work? How is it all held together? We have to be able to find the one thing, you know, it's got to be one thing. And, you know, it's the logical mind wants to know, but not everything can be put into the logical understanding of our little tiny brains. These little brains, they're tiny little
The
things.
closest I've gotten is, I think, Simon Sensen. He said it might have been a typo, but they talk about a forun. Do you know about those, Barry? Forun? What is that? He says it's the most powerful thing in the universe, right?
Yeah, so Stephenson talks about it. It's where the universal intelligence comes in and connects with the innate intelligence through the forons.
Wow. So that's it's given a name, call it a foreign, but we still don't know how.
I have in the last 24 hours, I've started taking care of a 6-year-old dachshund who became paralyzed basically from the thoracolumbar junction or the upper thoracics all the way down. They went to the veterinarian yesterday, and the vet wanted them to immediately go to the neurologist for a $3,500 MRI that would lead to a total of a $15,000 surgery. And they came here first. And I think that the major premise gives me confidence, competence, and certainty. Simon has a new talk on triunes in chiropractic, and not just the triune of life, but one of the triunes is universal intelligence, innate intelligence, and educated intelligence. And so what I bring to the floor, not the table, but the floor in this case, is the confidence that I have some educated intelligence, knowing how to adjust a dog, and I have my innate intelligence connecting with that dog's innate intelligence, and it's all wrapped in a flour tortilla, which is universal intelligence. And I have to understand and be open to the idea that my innate intelligence, the dog's innate intelligence, my educated intelligence, and universal intelligence are going to be working together with my educated force. That's a confidence that most chiropractors and most animal chiropractors are graduating with an idea. I motion, palpate, and I pop stuck joints. And that's
Yeah, but your approach is what makes being a chiropractor fun. And even without being a chiropractor, it makes life fun when you approach with these universal laws.
You're exactly right. And that's why, just in conclusion, that's where this universal, or rather this major premise that we have from which all else follows, is a major abstract principle that makes it the difference between a good and a poor chiropractor.
It's what
And
makes us do what we do and enjoy the heck out of it.
Yep.
I was so
Well,
excited today at lunchtime. The dog hasn't pooped since yesterday at breakfast, and I said, the minute she poops, I want a picture posted on Instagram. I want to know about it. And lo and behold, after today's adjustment, a couple hours later, I got that beloved text that the dog had pooped and peed.
That's
Beautiful,
awesome.
man.
You know, I've been the chiropractor for the Dachshund Rescue for about 15 years. And we've had dozens, maybe hundreds of dachshunds walk again from
Mhm.
people who just give them up. You know, it's terrible. But they walk again and they're great again. Thank you for serving. And you know what? Since you started talking about tacos, I'm getting hungry. You built a taco with us and a tortilla. And, you know, I want to just say, let's stay childlike through this and let's open our imaginations and our hearts. And we're going to have 32 to go. All right, gentlemen,
And it's the breakdown process, because it's
we're
deductive
breaking it down.
reasoning. It's the deductive reasoning in chiropractic, and we go from, we've got the broad picture of universal intelligence
Yeah.
here, and now we're going to go to get piece by piece as we
Finite.
go through the 33.
Absolutely. Open minds, childlike. We're going to have a blast. This was a lot of fun tonight. And I'm heading out to eat a little dinner with my family at 10,000 feet and play in the snow from sea level. I'm stoked. I love you guys. And I plan on being on next week as well. We're still going to be in Colorado then as well, though. Okay?
Excellent.
Love and appreciate you all. Have a great night.
Good night.
Good night.